only be told by the lenses of the foreign and Western media. In this conflict, as you are aware, it is not a conflict that just dates yesterday.
Yeah.
It's a conflict that predates yesterday, and to the extent that the Sudan is one of the richest portions of the continent of Africa. You know, the other day whilst I was in Cotonou, I indicated to First Afrique Television that the reason for which we have these difficulties in the Sahel region is that the Sahel is by far the richest part of the continent of Africa, in fact, in global terms. And that the richest man to ever live, surface F,
Mansa Musa,
traversed and came from the Sahel region. It is his display of wealth that brought attention to that part of the world, and that has led to the kind of atrocities and instability. These instabilities are not engineered by the indigents. They are engineered by Western collaborators who have seen the wealth of these areas, and what they have decided to do is that set the people apart, come in as mediators and peace brokers. In the process, you take the wealth of the people away. And so whilst we engage in the micro trivia issues of development has not come, they constantly engage in exploiting the resources of Africa for the greater good of their societies. And it is that same trend that is happening in the Sudan region. If you take the Sudan, the Horn of Africa, and you come all the way to the Democratic Republic of Congo, and in fact from Democratic Republic of Congo, you notice that from independence, there has not been stability in its permanent form, because soon after Patrice Lumumba was murdered and dissolved, as I keep insisting, he was dissolved. We have not seen his body anywhere. The only African hero that is without a tomb, and eventually it had to take one of his teeth that was removed callously by a soldier, a Belgian soldier. That is what was retrieved to now be buried as the remains of our African hero and African ancestor. So clearly, they dissolved it, and these things have gone unpunished. The world simply does not. This is killing a head of state, a people's elected leader. Since then, you can see that the DRC has not been what it's supposed to be. It was Mobutu who was a poodle of the West. And soon after Mobutu was exiting power, they brought in Kabila. When they realized that Laurent Kabila was going to be tough for them, they managed to take him away and brought his son Joseph Kabila, who was also another poodle. Along the line, when they realized that he was not doing their bidding, they imposed a lot of difficulties on his way that he stepped down. And now they have Felix Tshisekedi, who took over from his father's political party, Etienne Tshisekedi. And so clearly you can see that they always micromanage how Africa and African leaders must be chosen. Where they fail to micromanage the leadership choices, then you have these agitations where they talk about paramilitary groups, they talk about insurgencies, they talk about jihadis, they talk about all manner of groups. And this is what has happened. Al-Bashir in Sudan mobilized his people into a one lot. John Garang and others disagreed with al-Bashir and the control of the Southern Sudanese resources for the north of Sudan. In the end, John Garang succeeded in breaking away from the Sudan proper and forming South Sudan. But they realized that John Garang was one of a colossus to deal with. He understood what his people wanted. He was well groomed in the Pan-Africanist ideas and wanted the resources of Southern Sudan to be exploited solely and entirely for the people of Southern Sudan. When they sensed that, he was murdered in a helicopter or a plane crash. They killed him and brought in his 2 IC that they realized that is soft and is incapable of taking the same stance and hardline stance of John Garang. At the end of the day, Salva Kiir has taken over and appointed a vice president that he cannot work with. Riek Machar is in the jungles fighting, and it has turned into a tribal lord. And these influences are not coming from the Sudanese themselves. They are coming from Western infiltrators who think that, look, why should you allow Salva Kiir, that, quote, you are educated than, second, you come from a bigger tribe than he is, to be the leader of the country. And that has put them at. So they come and give the paramilitary groups military support. Then they tend to give the government some support. The government invites them to come and help them to broker peace. In the end, they stay these two camps. They exploit the resources of Sudan. And I am not surprised that in the face of the wealth of Sudan, the people of Sudan have been rendered poor. They have been rendered without food. Look, the Sudan-Congo region is probably the most fertile part of the African soil. If you see a tuber of yam from that region, you'll be asking yourself, why? What kind of nutrients are in the soil? And it is that part of the African continent. Alhaji, you just go into the sea or the rivers and you fetch with a bucket of water, you choose the fish you want and you leave the remaining there. That is how wealthy that place is. Mineral deposit in that part of our continent is unbelievable. What do you want and you cannot find there? You want diamond, you find there. You want copper, you find there. You want gold, you find there. Everything is there. Hence, the West will ensure that there is instability. It is time for the African to rise up above these petty tribal fights that has rendered our people poor and allowing the Westerners to exploit the wealth of Africa for their own good. I will continue to insist that until and unless Africa unites, have a one army, that if there is any disturbance in any part of Africa, we don't need NATO. We don't need the US. We will need an African force to go there. When we decided to do an African solution or West African solution to the problems and crises in Liberia, we found an outcome. When we decided that we would take an African solution to Sierra Leone, we got an outcome. But take any interest that anywhere that we have decided that we'll get a UN solution to our problems, rather the problems keep magnifying. What it tells you that the UN is doing the bidding of the West and not the interests of the people that they claim that they are going to protect. And I am just devastated that all the time is the UN that tells us this. The UN peacekeepers that are drawn from every part of the world, when they go there, what do? They should look at what we did in Liberia. It was a tough one. ECOWAS managed through ECOMOC, and we dealt with the situation. When it got to Sierra Leone with Fode Sanko and others, ECOWAS stepped in and they resolved the matter. How come that when it is left for the UN, we are unable to resolve the matter in the manner that we have to do? So what it tells you that African problems are easily dealt by African solutions, not by Western solutions. And so if we do not reason up as Africans, the Sudan crisis will not be over. And just take note, when you think that the Sudan crisis are about settling, then you see that another paramilitary group is emerging. And this is what I ask you. You are called Pan-Africa TV. Yes. Are you able to go into the Sudan region to go and cover the stories of the paramilitary groups? Have you seen any African media able to identify who the leaders of the paramilitary groups and to grant them interview? How come that it takes the international cables to be able to access their leaders and go into the jungle and have interviews with them and now put the interviews to us? If they were not the people sponsoring and financing them, how would they have access to them? How did those people get the guns? How did they get? Because look, guns trading are largely done by the head country to country, not so. Bombs and then other bombardiers are done by country to country. How come that these groups get them? In the middle of the night, they come into the jungle, they drop these things, they get all manner of sophisticated weapons. Because the West decide that, look, let's empower them so that we can have a claim to go and empower the legitimate governments and let the legitimate government know that without our support, we will not be able to dismantle these people. In so doing, the people know that you are backing them. And so they come, stay here, we'll deal with the situation. In between is the wealth that they are gathering away. They have done that. They've stolen a lot of Niger's uranium. They've done that. They've stolen a lot of Mali's resources. At the end, they even want to destroy the history of Mali. Because if they started bombarding the universities, the mosques in Timbuktu that were constructed by Mansa Musa, what legacy would you claim that Mansa Musa ever lived, and that he got those wealth, and that is the evidence of the wealth that he had? So I am pretty disappointed that African Union, but how am I even disappointed about the African Union? When I worked as the secretary to the Kwame Nkrumah Centenary Planning Committee, the African Union agreed in Sirte, Libya, that the 21st of September would be adopted on the calendar of the African Union. And President Mills, in speaking, look, everybody, look at the length of time President Mills spoke. But when he talked about celebrating the centenary of Kwame Nkrumah, everybody stood up. Gaddafi was alive. Everybody stood up and gave him a standing ovation. After that, the African Union pledged to be part of our event. You know the African Union's contribution to the Kwame Nkrumah Centenary Planning Committee, they had to depend on their contribution, their share of money that they were expecting from the European Union to now be able to pay what they promised the Kwame Nkrumah Centenary Planning Committee to enable them be part. So if as minor a thing like just celebrating the centenary of Kwame Nkrumah, you are depending on the European Union, the United Nations, United States aid, US aid. The headquarters of the AU was built by the Chinese, and the baths is delivered by the Chinese. Really, we are sitting on nothing. And if our leadership is this bankrupt, how do you expect that we'll be able to resolve these problems? We need hard-thinking African leaders to be able to say enough is enough.
Thank you very much, Comrade Bernard Mona. Alhaji.
Good morning to your good self, to Comrade, incoming president after President Mahama, the good people of the Pan-Africa technical team, our avid listeners across the globe and the world, and the British people of the Sanaru constituency. Bernard, these lamentations we are all engaging comes down to one thing, which at the tail end of your discourse you brought, the acute dependence. If you have your mouth in somebody else's kitchen, can you assert your independence and freedom? It is clear that is the predicament of the continent, and you just eulogize the legendary and the visionary African of the millennium, the revered, universally acclaimed and respected Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. A man whose vision, even 6 decades after he was gone, are becoming even more relevant than when he espoused them when he was alive. So clearly, bless, I don't want, these are overflowed issues. We have talked about this countless times. We have lamented at every stage. And I have always said that the African paradox is the bewilderment for the world. That the continent that features the richest in resources features the poorest of the poor in this world. That is a summary of our inability to take control of our resources and use them for the benefit of our people. That is the answer. And that is why Kwame Nkrumah, in his visionary stance, took the issue of continental African unity. Africa functioning as a monolithic political entity in the Committee of Nations, especially at a time when all other powers are coalescing. They are building blocks and unions, and Africa, on the contrary, is disintegrating. We are further balkanizing. The balkanization of the continent is getting even more. So when two brothers fight, it is a stranger who will reap their harvest. If they continue the fight, you will take over their heritage. So unfortunately, this is the story of the conflicts that we have on the continent. After how many years of conflict now? We don't finish talking about Libya. And you go down to the bottom. It is the meddling of foreign powers which make the matter worse. Of course, we as Africans have the disproportionate share of the problem. To the point that it is us who are encouraged to think negatively against one another and fight one another. So while we are fighting, the enemies who want to profit on Africa's resources will give us the means and the wherewithal to finish ourselves. So, bless. No wonder that even continental bodies that we have in that area, the Maghreb Union and the larger continental body, the African Union, are proving so helpless and incapable. Because like even Bernard said, in certain instances, you have to even go and depend on funding from European Union or the United Nations. So he who pays the piper calls the tune. If you are going to beat the drum beat and I give you money, I will dictate to you what drum, how you should beat and what dance I want to dance. So clearly it's a tragic decision for the millions of us on the continent, and particularly for those that are ridden by political and social strife, like Sudan today, where, like you said, a terrible tragedy of human beings eating groundnut shells. Because even if you give groundnut shells even to animals, they won't even eat. And human beings have to subsist on that. Is that not enough to indict us as Africans and as African leaders to see what we are doing to our own people? Plus, I am a Muslim and I wish my fellow Muslims today eat Juma Mubarak today. But I say it every day. Every single one of us, one day, will stand before our Maker and account. So if you are a leader and they give by the grace of the Almighty, He gives a country to you, and you go and steal all the wealth and make the people miserable. Tomorrow you will stand before the Maker. And you will answer questions. No matter how long you live on this earth, you will go. How many years can you live to come and wreak such levels of suffering and misery on your people? You will answer. And that day your wealth and anything cannot save you. You will be there alone to answer those questions. So whether you are a politician, you are a chief, a landlord, a whatever, a judge, and your decisions are unfair, unjust, you will answer for them tomorrow. And so if we are minded by this, knowing that there will always be a tomorrow, a day of accountability, where nobody can save you, your deeds alone will take you through. And at that time you can't pay bribe. The corruption that you are engaged in here, you can't even attempt it there. So if we are minded that these things will come, I'm sure that this world would have been a better, fairer place for all of us. And when leaders are put in charge of their nations, they will act with a high degree of fairness and justice. So, unfortunately, on our continent, because of the level of resources we have, Bernard, I remember the legendary Louis Farrakhan of the Nation of Islam. He was talking about the fertility of African soils, to the point that he said that, look, even if you are chewing some seed and you go out and spit onto lands in Africa, plants will sprout. It shows what we are sitting on as Africans. The richness of our soils, the mineral and agricultural wealth that we have, yet we go importing. And it runs across many areas in the continent, including our own country. Look at the resources that we have. Today, look at the sorry state in which the lives of our people are. So, in every sphere, we are getting this kind of thing sprouting in so many African countries. And that indicates to us a depth of leadership, that there is a terrible lack of leadership on the continent. And that is why we are all going through this terrible crisis, where the personal aggrandizement of leaders and others is to be content with small territories where they call themselves leaders and they boss it, they lord it over their own people. That's what they cherish. He's president, he's in the long convoy, he's enjoying the this, he flies at this, he uses the resources of the country as he likes. He is not motivated towards working for a larger continental African union, where that largesse may go down. You know, that it will be better for his people. They are not interested in the betterment of the African people. They are interested in their own personal aggrandizement. And so, bless, we shall continue to mourn and until, like I said, we get the likes of the Osajefus and others back to lead our nations and galvanize our people to ensure that the marginalization of the African continent on the international scene is reversed. I can tell you that if Africa spoke with one voice, there will be no power on the face of this earth that will be more powerful than about 52 African nations that also possess the bulk of the wealth of this world. And so we can really pray and hope that in the generations that are coming, we will get the likes of the Osajefus who will come back again and take the reign of governance in their country and be motivated by the African Union project and carry it to its logical conclusion, like the legendary Osajefu Dr. Kwame Nkrumah envisioned.
Thank you very much, Alhaji Fuseni. Already we are receiving lots of messages. Keep them coming. But we'll proceed to our next topic for conversation. It was just this morning that I learned that the President, Akufo-Addo, he has forwarded a petition for the removal of the special prosecutor to the Chief Justice. Yes.
Yes. Is it true?
It's true. And what I've also heard is that this is actually masterminded by...
You heard, or it is confirmed?
True. It is true. It's confirmed. It's what I know also is that no other person than the former special prosecutor, he is actually orchestrating this, and he actually made a petition to impeach the special prosecutor Kisi Jabeng over alleged procurement breaches, and so that petition has been forwarded by the president to the Chief Justice. So that is the story. Yes. Chairman, I'm sure you are aware of this development.
Well, I'm not surprised at all that this is happening, because we are told that anybody who wants to fight corruption under Akufo-Addo's regime
It's fought.
is fought vigorously by the corrupt in society. There is a litany of literature to support this, that when Crow and Associates did no work for the state of Ghana, $1 million at the inception of Akufo-Addo's government was transferred by Osafo Mafo to a non-existent Crow and Associates. And the Auditor General, in their work, noticed that there was no job done for $1 million. $1 million today is almost 15 million.
It's not almost, it is.
15 million Ghana cedis.
It is.
It's money that Osafo Mafo just spent off, and it went. And Domelevu decided that since no job has been done and there's no evidence that the money was used for the intended purpose, those who ensure that Ghana lost that much should be made to repay the money. Domlevo was fought, and vigorously so, that he had to be dismissed and removed from office before his time. When civil society organizations, including CDD, protested and went to the courts waited after 2.5 years to make a ruling that it was unjust for President Akufo-Addo to remove Domlevo in the manner he did. By which time, Domlevo had already packed out completely and his tenure has expired. So what the court succeeded in doing is not only to goad the executive into doing what they did, but they actually connived with the executive to ensure that executive abuses on citizens who want to fight against corruption is achieved. The second important thing is Martin Hamidu himself, who was in place as the special prosecutor, first special prosecutor, with all the ramatars that accompanied it. At the end, Martin Hamidu told us in Parliament that he was unable to sit with crooked people. You remember, at his vetting, he said, no, he cannot sit with crooked people. Then he entered into the office and realized that the person who appointed him is actually the super crooked person. Anything that he wanted, he needed collaboration from ministries to be able to do his job. The ministers were not collaborating with him. The appointees were not collaborating with him. He reported this repeatedly to the president. The president ignored him. That he, out of frustration, had to say it publicly. That why? You appointed me to do a job and the appointees are not collaborating. Bring your appointees to order so that we'll be able to execute the mandate. Unknown to Martin Hamidu, he was not brought in as a special prosecutor to tackle issues of present, but they brought him to come and ensure that they defaced previous government appointees, and there was no evidence to be able to do that work. In the end, Martin Hamidu struggled. When he had some issues to talk about, Ken Oforata had to wake up at dawn to go to Martin Hamidu's house to go and talk to him to shelve the report that he was about to bring. You remember? This was at the instance of the president. But Martin Hamidu persisted. And eventually, he told us that President Akufo-Addo is the murder serpent of corruption in this country. You understand the meaning? It means that when you are a murder serpent of corruption and you are pregnant, you deliver more corrupt babies. Do you understand? So President Akufo-Addo is the mother who is delivering corrupt babies. How do you expect that this nation will survive? Then they brought Kisi Ajebang. When they brought Kisi Ajebang, everyone thought that Kisi Ajebang was not up to the task. Martin Hamidu himself complained. Somehow, he disappointed the critics by wanting to stand by the very law that brought the office into place and to say that, look, I've been brought in here, I will do what I'm expected to do. So when he hears about issues of corruption, he actually takes steps, inviting the people to see what he can find in those instances. Sometimes he is seen to be overbearing. So in the case of my good friend Charles Oniahunto Bisu, with the Anas saga, he brought Charles to the special prosecution and has taken him to task. Charles has taken him to court, but he says that he has to investigate. Today, typical of Akufo-Addo, Charles is an MPP parliamentary candidate for Esikado, Kentai. You remember the 5 million contaminated liters of oil? Look, this one you didn't need a special prosecutor or anybody to go into this matter. The oil was sold to somebody who did not have a business. Do you understand? The oil was sold to somebody who did not have a business. There was no company. The oil was sold. After the oil was sold, the people realized that they needed to have gone there with a company profile, with tax clearance certificate, with SNIT certificate, with labor certificate, and other documents, Registrar General's document. So they went and formed what they call moving PINA. So you supply, a government contract is won by a non-existent company. When this matter came up, President Akufo-Addo took the thing and said they have investigated. They cleared Charles, what's his name? Obing, Alfred Obing. They cleared Obing, and today Obing is an MP for the Biani zone. Do you understand? So see how the thing is done. You come to the cash for seats. You can list a number of corrupt issues. But the recent one,
even including and married by the president himself.
The recent one has to do with the fact that Kissing Ajabin took issue with the president's darling Celia Dapaah. Do you understand? The president, my dear darling Celia Dapaah. And Kissing Ajabin, when the matter came up, he said, no, this one there, it is meat in the soup. All you have to take is to take it and eat. So he went after Celia Dapaah. And what did he do? He said, Celia Dapaah, you are under arrest. Take us to your houses. Unfortunately, they didn't go to the Kumasi houses. You understand? They went to the official house and they came to the one here at Abilingpe here. The other houses they don't even know. And there, we are told that whilst they went into the home with counting machine, money counting machine, they counted money for in excess of 4.5 hours.
Counting machine.
Counting machine.
Counting money for 4.5 hours.
4.5 hours. I am not talking.
This one is no more than a bank.
No, I'm not talking about you. The media reported that is what they were doing. They were counting machine. Look, you know how the machine moves.
That's what I'm saying. 4.5 hours.
4.5 hours. They counted money. It is not the 1 million that was stolen. It is not the euros that was stolen. It's not the pounds that was stolen. It is money that they still found in the house that they were counting. It took them 4.5 hours because they had to count dollars alone, count cedis alone, count pounds alone, count euros alone, and count yen alone, or yuan. This is what they did. 4.5 hours continuous counting of money so that they'll be able to take the record. How much was that money? So the special prosecutor said, with this amount of money in your home, no, something is amiss. What is amiss? It's not possible to keep that amount of money. Because you know, the $1 million plus the euros plus the cedis that were taken, those ones were monies that are stolen. They are no more within the cash till. And he said, no, I'll take this matter. When he took up the matter, the Attorney General didn't want him to pursue the matter. So they were trying like he should stop. Before we could realize, Celia Dapaah took him to court. And what are the basis? On trivia, that when you took the money, you were supposed to bring the money to court at least 7 days. And you didn't bring the money 7 days. And the man said, no, we are still locating the houses of the woman and we are still doing investigation. So we have not concluded. So if we had concluded the search, then you start that on this day we concluded the search, so we have brought you this amount of money. But we are told that the woman has some houses in Kumasi. We are told that it is not only in the official residence and the Abilingpe house, that she has some houses and we are doing investigations to get to know those houses so that we can go in there and see whether there are still more cash. The bank said return the money. And so he had to return the money. At the end of the day, when he finished his investigations, he said, look, everything that has been said borders on money laundering. So we are referring this to Iyoko. Iyoko took up the matter because we cannot trace that somebody gave money to him as corrupt and what have you. But we can trace that there is a trace of money laundering. If it's not money laundering, then it's drug money. Deal with the matter. Iyoko cannot also function without the advice of the Attorney General, you know. So Iyoko also sought the opinion of the Attorney General. Then Attorney General said that there is no case, so return the OSP's docket to him. And he did. This infuriated President Akufo-Addo. That, how dare you come and attack my darling Celia Dapaah and want to bring the wealth that probably I have asked him her to keep. You want to expose it for the rest of the world to see. But I have a problem with the special prosecutor. In over 4 hours of money that he counted, how much is it? He's here to tell us. So I can only imagine. Assuming you were even counting 1 cedis. Let's put it, the lowest money, 1 cedis. Which everyone know that it couldn't be 1 cedis. If you are counting 1 cedis for 4 hours, even by hand, how much would you have counted? So the special prosecutor himself failed to have let the people of Ghana know the quantum of money that they got and in what currencies and in what denominations. But that is the issue. And of course, after all this, he takes any case to the courts and the courts will find a way to throw him away. Any case to the court, he will find a court will throw him away. Then some senior judges started talking to him. That look, you have to reduce your hardline time. Otherwise, these courts will not do anything to ensure that your office is doing what is expected. So out of frustration, the man did the press conference to lament about the official complicity of the judiciary covering up for the executive and undermining the work of the special prosecutor. Then you, Martin Hamidu, you get up and say that by organizing a press conference to state the obvious, that there is a judicial collusion with the executive to ensure that his office work is undermined. And that is why anytime he takes a case, sometimes the response, even the way the judges approach the issue, the attacks he goes through, is evident that he was attacking judges. And by attacking judges, it means that he should be removed from office. Number two, that he arrested Celia Dapaah and Professor Frimpong Boateng. Frimpong Boateng, do you know what it means to be arrested? Alaji, legally, to say you are arrested, the person uses his left hand to touch you and tell you that you are under arrest. Anything you say can be used against you. The court of law, you have right to counsel. That's all. It didn't mean that they put handcuffs as the police would do. It didn't mean that they beat the persons. They just put their left hand on the shoulder of the person and made this pronouncement, and that means that you are under arrest. And then they will do whatever they want to do and grant you bail to go. Professor Frimpong Boateng, did anybody go to bail him? They granted him a bail. So how is that a case for Martin Hamidu to call for the removal of the special prosecutor? I have my own problems with the special prosecutor. But those problems can be dealt with because I'm told that the special prosecutor is terrified that this government can send assassins to kill him. So he scarcely stays in town. Alaji, that is how serious is it. He is terrified that, look, the same government. Oh, Alaji, who gave him the security? Are you not the one that says? Are you not the one that says that if you leave your goat in the care of the hyena,
you will not come and find one alive?
So they put the man and they put security around him. The man does not believe that I am protected. And so most often you will see him out of the country. And I'm saying that if you cannot do the job, resign, because you are afraid to die. but you will still die anyway. Because he's afraid to die, he will not die. You will still die when the time comes. And so therefore, once you have accepted to do the job, you should stay at home and do the job. I have that problem with him. But that is not to say that in the execution of his job, which in my opinion, I disagree with the creation of the office of the special prosecutor. I don't think that is worth it. Many of us spoke against it. You still created it. Then the attorney general is sitting at one corner. When the special prosecutor wants to prosecute something, they say, no, you can't go this direction. They are putting wedges in your lane. So how are you going to go forward? So I don't think that there is any problem. But this is a petition that has been sent to President Akufo-Addo. You remember the first petition President Akufo-Addo received? A concocted petition that was not signed for the removal of Charlotte Osei. President supersonically forwarded the petition to the Chief Justice. The Chief Justice did and called for the removal of Charlotte Osei. Jane Mensah and Dr. Bosman Asari. Petitions have been sent to the presidency. Those petitions have been received by the presidency. The presidency has not been in a position to forward those petitions, as he himself said is required by law, to the Chief Justice for action. That one, the president has now to sit down to see whether it is of merit to forward it. It is a petition. And we are told that once a petition has been brought to the president has no job. You send it to the Chief Justice. The Chief Justice will look at it. If there is merit, she will form a committee. And the committee will look and bring recommendation. So how come that the Jane Mensah petition, two of them that has been sent to President Akufo-Addo, they cannot go to the Chief Justice? Then all of a sudden, there is a petition by Martin Amidu. Before the people of Ghana can even know there is a petition, President has forwarded it with the speed of Achim lights to the Chief Justice, so that a committee can be set to remove the very person that Gabi Asare-Ochiridako brought, hoping that he was coming to cover up shame unto President Akufo-Addo.
Right. I think Ghana has done justice to the issue and associate myself with many of the things he said. In fact, there were things that obviously I had in mind. But you see, our people have been saying that when you send your son to the hereafter, he will return, but you will not recognize him. We said it from the very onset that President Nana Akufo-Addo has no iota of motivation to fight corruption. Clearly, in getting to 8 years now, look at the monumental acts of corruption that have occasioned his government, that his appointees have engaged in. You can't count. We're sitting here, Bernard, and we just mentioned, if we want to start mentioning from the scandalous 2.2 billion bond, the breach of procedure, breach of procurement act, and all those things, from all that time to the recent scandals that we can't finish counting them. And then Nana Akufo-Addo's watch, including himself, when he gave executive approval to Ameri, which he himself described when they were in opposition, 530 million under President Mahama, and he said that it was padded with corruption. And he came and he himself gave executive approval. Bless, you say something which is 530 million is vitiated by corrupt acts because the amount was too much. And then you come to government and you yourself, you give executive approval. You have shocked everybody as I say you as president, you are giving the approval for it. From 530 to 1.3 billion. Ghanaians, listen to this president. Okay? 530 is vitiated by corruption. And you send it to 1.3 billion and give it executive approval to be brought to parliament. But for the vigilance of our side in parliament to throw that thing out, I'm telling you, Massa, the president would have succeeded with that corrupt act that he initiated. So you can see that he himself And Bernard has alluded to what Martin Amido has described him as a mother serpent of corruption. He has no iota of motivation to fight any corruption. How can you fight something that you yourself you are engaged in and presiding over? You cannot. How can your mouth be full of water and you blow it to rekindle fire? You cannot. So the appointment of a special prosecutor to take these acts of corruption never was his motive. He was rather motivated by a vindictive desire. And people who are around the president, they will tell you about the vindictiveness there. To go after NDC appointees. The Chinese, the Chinese have a proverb that the enemy of your enemy is your friend. You get it? Your enemy's enemy is your friend. So at that time, because they thought Honorable Martin Amido had an axe to grind with the NDC. So he was a convenient tool. You could use him as a conveyor belt to go after NDC people. So that's, hey, this one is, Martin Amido is an NDC man, who is not an MPP man. So if he's coming after NDC people, don't come and tell us that we in the MPP are going after NDC people. He saw the very sly, listen, you see, but Allah Almighty doesn't contract debt, but he pays debt. You saw the boomerang. That instead of getting him to go after NDC people, when they started coming towards who? Oshafumafu, Alai. Next, Kenofurata. They said, these are my anointed people, you dare not touch them. And the man said, oh, is that what you mean by fighting corruption? And where after all those ones, he coined the mother serpent of corruption for him. So you see, from the word go, there was no intention to fight corruption in the first place with the creation of that office. So that's why, for instance, for how many years that Martin Amido described where he was, where they gave him as an office as a hen coop. You remember? He said it was like a hen coop. And that he couldn't even get the requisite level of staff to work with. And that the resources that he was supposed to work with, the resources have not been given to him by government. Eventually, when they went and did some padding of his budget and brought it to Parliament to approve, look, there was a difference between the approval, whole gulf between what Parliament approved and what was given to Martin Amido, because they never gave him any resources to work with. So that goes further to demonstrate that this government had never been motivated anywhere to fight against corruption. And so the surprise is that, when the Kisi Ajabin made his press conference, he likened himself to a certain bird. He said, what is the name of the bird in the tree? What? Ankwa. Ankwanuma. I'm a Savannah product, so maybe if I don't pronounce it well, you should forgive me. But he said it's Ankwanuma. So he had thrown himself, his hands helplessly in the air. And consider defeat. Frustration from the same system that they used to frustrate Martin Amido. So that demonstrates beyond every reasonable doubt that this is not a government that has an iota of commitment to fight corruption. Because it's intrinsically corrupt from the head to the foot. Okay? So now the puzzling thing is like Bernard Mena pointed out. President Akufo-Addo says he is conforming with the law, isn't it? That says that if they bring petition, you have no strictures. You have to channel it. Just send it. Conveyor belt. So that's what he did when they brought the petition against, when they went and organized. And in fact, even in that petition was the name of a dead person. They even featured a dead person's name in the letter commission, the petition they made against Charlotte Osai. In spite of all the fraudulent nature of the thing, the president said, well, he had no alternative but to send it. Did you hear that in the case that he mentioned? And even before that, I even heard that there was a chief justice, a petition against a former chief justice, which was sent to the president. It never saw the light of day. The president, being in that case, he was not a conveyor belt. He had the discretion to see whether that petition will go or not and sat on it. In fact, he sat and broke all the strictures of that, rendered it useless. In that case, he didn't function as a conveyor belt. Allegations were made against G-Mesa. Petition sent to the president. What happened? He didn't act as a conveyor belt. So he has a convenience to decide on whether petition should be forwarded or should not be forwarded. When he himself has indicated to Ghanaians that he is just a mere conveyor belt. If he comes, he sends it. Whatever happens later is not his making. What happened to the other petitions that were routed through his office to be forwarded for action to be taken? So you see the double standards and the hypocrisy of this president and his government. So I have no doubt in my mind that they will not allow Kisi Ajabin to function, especially under this Attorney General. I have never seen such levels of incompetence and self-serving, disloyalty. This Attorney General is just one way Attorney General for MPP. He's more than even a serial caller for the party. If it is MPP, he looks at it strictly on party colors. I have never seen an Attorney General and Minister of Justice. That's why they had it. This is a Minister of Injustice. I've never seen anybody who is so partisan in his approach to his official work like this Attorney General. No wonder we are having all these kinds of problems surfacing. So clearly, Kisi Ajabin has a lot of obstacles in his path that he cannot perform to public expectation. Not for want of competence. I believe, as a lawyer and others, there are people who have doubted his competence and his ability to deal with legal issues professionally. I am not the one to question that competence because I don't have that. That indicates that he has performed otherwise. But the system put in place will make sure that he doesn't function, because you can't go after. If it were maybe one or two other NDC people, that one the system will do what they can do together with the same Attorney General to facilitate that vindictive agenda. But once you have to do your work and there are public officials coming, when the president addresses somebody, my dear Celia Dapaah, and goes on to Darling and says that he is very confident that at the end of the investigations nothing will come out against her. What other conclusion can you draw? The president had cleared her already. And if the president clears this Attorney General, who sings more than even the president, today, this time we are having even people who are even more sycophantic and bootlickers than even serial callers. Serial callers who have to go and say something to get no curfew. There are now people who are emerging to sing more songs to praise the president more than this. So you are seeing it clearly. In the face of that, in what is going to happen? There can be justice. And so the fight against corruption will be lost even before it started. So blessed. I don't think anybody who is a keen observer of our political landscape will be surprised about what is happening. I think that in the frustration for his image and his integrity, I believe that it will be good for Kisi Ajabin to resign because of the deliberate frustrations they are putting in, obstacles they are putting in his path to project him as a failure and an incompetent person for that matter. And so for the sake of his integrity and his record of public service, I think that he should look at it again. If these obstacles cannot be surmounted, I think that it would do him on the bad side for him to remain in that position when he obviously cannot function.
Right, thank you very much, Alhaji ABF Hussaini. I'll use some time.
There was just something I wanted
to add,
say, which is probably a variant, to commend the government of South Africa for mounting pressure on the International Criminal Courts, where they are pressing for genocide charges against Israel.
Right.
And yesterday, the court had to hear South Africa. And if you listen to the about 5 lawyers that I listened to, the enormity of the crime South Africa is visiting on the people of Gaza and the people of Israel are visiting on the Palestinian people, particularly those in Gaza. And that it was the Israelis that actually asked people from Gaza to move towards the Rafah crossing. And these people left their homes. You bombarded their homes. When they are around Rafah, then today you are asking them that you are coming to attack and launch an attack on Rafah. And you are not allowing food to go. There is food shortage. A humanitarian crisis is on the way. And yesterday when I listened to one of the lady lawyers, look, the emotion with which she spoke and presented her case, I just want to comment South Africa. And to say that any African head of state who does not stand with the people of Palestine is a traitor to the struggles of our forebears. See, what is happening in Palestine is colonialism. It's worse than apartheid. It's worse than what our people went through and they fought. People came into our land and decided that they have the right to take over our land. Our people fought. In Ghana, people died. In many other countries, the Mau Mau, led by Didan Kimati and others. In South Africa, Mandela was in prison for 28 years. People died. Steve Biko and others lost their lives in order to get liberation for their people. And when you are liberated and a group of people are suffering what you have been through, you cannot side with the people of Palestine. You are a traitor to the African struggle.
But I just want to compliment what Benamona said. He's hit the nail right on the head. Except that, you see, he's been charitable to a point where he failed to grasp the bull by the horns. Benamona is aware, Comrade Benamona is aware, that President Nana Akufo-Addo has made it a public statement that they stand full square with Israel.
That's true.
You are aware?
That's true.
So how can you be sitting on the truth and be looking for it?
That's true.
That if you are condemning, you should say it for what it is. That Ghana is complicit in what is happening under Nana Akufo-Addo.
So Akufo-Addo is a traitor of our struggles.
You see clearly in this issue, and that is why I join you on this to exhort South Africa. You have redeemed the African and the black race. That when it mattered most and cowards are running to hide and are afraid to speak and act for the truth and justice, they have stood up. And they have vindicated what the legendary Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah stood up for. An eloquent champion of the disadvantaged and the underprivileged, the oppressed. Ghana, as the torchbearer of African liberation, must always stand up for the oppressed, for the colonized, for the disadvantaged. In a situation where we have our president standing with the oppressors, the usurpers, those committing genocide, and saying that Ghana, Osagyefo's country, is standing full tall with oppressors. God of mercy, may the Almighty Allah save this country
and forgive them.
Right. Good morning to you, Bless, and your panelist. I'm Seidu from Kumasi. Ghanaians are fed up with President Akufo-Addo and his government, but if care is not taken, the Electoral Commission and the chairperson, Jane Mensah and Bosman Asari, will manipulate the 2024 elections in favor of the NPP, so the NDC and the other parties should watch out. Okay, thank you. Can we use part of our taxes can't we use part of this bet taxes money to pay part of the dialysis patients' cost? Right, you didn't tell me your name and where you sent your message from, but thank you regardless. Bless ALORMASOR, good morning. In fact, I can't fathom why Martin Amido will petition the mother serpent for the removal of the special prosecutor. Interestingly, part of his concerns is why should the special prosecutor cause the arrest and prosecution of Madam Celia Dapaah, who was caught Philly with millions of unexplained foreign currencies in her home and her numerous bank accounts. I was thinking if Martin Amido indeed loves Ghana, he should rather be seen speaking on the prevailing corruptive acts and that have engulfed the current NPP administration, as lawyer Martin Pebu and others are doing. Mr. ALORMASOR, please, what has become of the petition to the president for the removal of the present EC chairperson and the immediate past chief justice? For now, Ghana today and the Akufo-Addo Bawumia is like a banana state from Uncle Sam, aka Havana. And thank you, Uncle Sam, for your message. There's still a lot more. JS Husseini from Tamale says, good morning, Pan Africa TV. Please bless. The American contract amount was $510 million, as mentioned, and not 530, as mentioned by Alhaji ABF Hussein. All right, yeah, right. Well noted. Koku, I'm watching you live from Mori. Bernard is always on point. Tell him that his reward is in heaven. He wants his reward here on earth. He wants me to die early. If I don't die, I can't you can't get that. This is notorious.
Go to heaven. The man wants me to die early so that I can go to heaven.
This notorious poisonous party, MPP, has no chance in the upcoming general elections. JDM all the way. Felix Ofusu-Kwache for AAK, NDC 24 economy. Okay, good morning, bless. I overheard Bernard Mona wants. I hear Kwame Bernard Mona wants to stand for president. Is he not interested in what is happening at the Electoral Commission? All the opposition parties are quiet, leaving the NDC alone to fight for Ghanaians. Why? Sami at Adenta sent this one. Please, where are the other political parties? Are they not interested in this current limited registration exercise? It seems they are missing in this exercise. If they fail to mobilize Ghanaians to register, who then is going to mobilize Ghanaians to register to come and vote for them? The hypocrisy in this country is too much. From Ima, you didn't tell me where you sent your message from. Good morning, bless. These are the same people. Please do not call the text lines. These are the same people who brought Kalabuli and late Rollins strike. Here we are again with the West Kalabuli. Crooked Ghana with the crook leader. BB Accra sent this one. This one here also says, thanks for the good works you people are doing over there. Congrats. You didn't tell me your name though. Good morning, please. Kindly greet Honorable ABA for me. And also the incoming presidential candidate for PNC, Chief Bernard Mona. Red from Pong Tamale sent this one. Thank you, Red, for your message. This one here also says, good morning, Pan Africa TV. Thank you for bringing guests who always speak facts to your discussion. I'm proud of my two brothers for their presentation this morning. From Alangina Sampana Samson, PNC Regional Chairman, Bono Region. Thank you very much for your message. My one and only chairman, Mona for president, because you be action boy and talk Nadu. All right.
That's my regional chairman for Bono.
Okay.
Bono
my one and only chairman, Mona for president, because you be action boy and talk Nadu. Hashtag BAM, that is Bernard Ambatayela Mona for president 2024. I'm Eben from WhatsApp Ristia. Thank you for your inspirations. Thank you so much for your message too. Pan Africa TV, try and educate other TV stations to emulate the good work you are doing for Ghana. Okay, we've heard you. This one here also says, good morning, I am Amos in Asenfusu. The laws of this country are not working under the watch of President Akufo-Addo and Bawumia's administration. Appointees are doing corruption and no prosecution. People are being killed and no prosecution. So many things are happening and no action, and no condemnation from the Peace Council, Christian Council, and even our chiefs who are custodians of this land. Are we under military rule or a constitutional dispensation? Right. Good morning, bless. Watching you from Aflao, too low cost. My regards to ABA and Chairman Mona for their contributions this morning. Okay, thank you very much for your message. Do you expect Israel to do nothing? Do you expect Israel to fold their arms when its citizens are held hostage? Sometimes some of you speak from a place of ignorance.
You see, these are persons who read the Bible.
They speak from places of ignorance.
And they think that Israel is the birthplace of Christianity. And so this is the Israel we are talking about. So for them, to speak for the Palestinians who
don't
that
even
to
know.
attack Christianity.
Even
the Israelis are not Christians.
Even enlightened, so-called enlightened
they are not Christians, my friend.
They don't know the decision.
Yeah.
They don't
They
know
are
that
Jewish.
even the Zionists and others, they hate Christians.
They hate the Christians if you don't know.
But I just want to express some disgust about this Celia Dapaah thing because it's come out from a very venerable old person, Mr. Samuel Okujeku. Is it
Okujeku?
Yes.
Okujeku.
I heard him and Master, I cringe. I said, at this age, respectfully, where we have been brought up, you respect age. So older people, I can't say anything nasty to them. But I felt so disgusted that this man is a lawyer of so many years, and is saying and justifying what immoral, reprehensible conduct is woman, and he's a member of the Council of State. God of mercy. No wonder we can't get much coming from people like that sitting and drawing from the taxpayer and making comments of this nature.
Right.
It's an apology.
Right. Good morning, Bless. I'm Gafaro, watching you live from Gambaga. Superb submission from your panelist. I do agree with that. Nana Afrentry says, greetings from Reykjavik, Iceland.
Reykjavik.
Reykjavik. And that is in Iceland.
Yes,
okay.
That's
so this person is actually watching from Iceland.
Yeah, Reykjavik.
Right. Okay. Yusuf,
you have to do international politics.
You know, I have to go to Alaji
Maybe needs to go to the university and start teaching.
Start lecturing. Yes, he has to. I agree.
Because you can't have this wealth of knowledge and come and sit down.
Right. Yusuf Mohammed, and this will be the last message I'll read out. Dear Mr. Bless and the panel, Mr. Kufu Addo has disappointed with the old folks. May Almighty Allah guide him to the path of honesty. All right. Thank you very much for your message. It's interesting. You can keep them coming, by the way. I'll make sure I read some more before the show comes to a close. But then our next topic has got to do with the CD. It appears that the depreciation won't slow down anytime soon. Haven't we received another tranche of IMF payments yet? And what exactly is still causing the spike in the currency? And this is affecting, businessmen very much. Because as I think it was 2 days ago that it was reported that now people who have taken loans from banks to import stuff, they can't pay again because the dollar is increasing.
Rendered it useless.
Yeah, Alaji.
Bless. It's terrible. I mean, if you see what Ghanaians are going through, like somebody came almost in tears, a businessman, somebody who was solid on his own, is tottering on the brink of collapse. His business. And he came to find out whether members of parliament, you people are members of parliament, can't you people do something for us? Bernard, I wish we had the power to do something about the dollar. Today that parliament is sitting, but no wonder, and I can say it without any other doubt, this matter will come up on the floor. Because people's lives are being destroyed. You see, Bless, I've always said that, you see, if you call your donkey a horse, on the day the race is called, it will be exposed for the ass that it is. No matter how you dress up a donkey, it is still an ass. And it is comparison that disgraces the donkey. When it is running alone, we think it's the fastest. Let the horse join the race. The donkey will smoke the dust of the horse. You see, today, when President Mahama was leaving office, the dollar was quoted vigorously, 3.8 to 4 cedis. Ally, on 7th January 2017. And President Mahama was assailed with all sorts of negative comments that you can think about. Incompetent, is wicked, is what, is insensitive, whatever. And that is under his watch, the dollar has gone to 4 cedis or 3.8. And I do remember there are even videos making the rounds of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the flag bearer of the MPP, saying that it was an act of class incompetence to allow $1 to be exchanged for as many as 4 cedis or as much as 4 cedis. That it was unconscionable. Today, under his watch, as chairman of the economic management team, and yet today the dollar has gone beyond 15 Ghana cedis. Bless. You go to the Forex Bureau now and if you want to, it's marching towards 16. In fact, there are some analysts who predict that if you are not careful, by the end of the year, it will hit 20. Yeah. From the way it is going. And the government has thrown its hands in the air, waiting for what? IMF bailout or what? There's no solution. The country is on autopilot. The finance minister, the Bank of Ghana, and other things who are supposed to manage the dollar has outdone all of them. And I saw a picture of somebody did a cartoon of the CD that Dr. Bawumia said had been arrested and put in jail, and the key given to the IGP. You see both Dr. Bawumia and the IGP chasing after a fleeing CD that has broken jail. So today, this is where this country is today. Many businesses are no longer just suffocating. They are totally on the brink of bankruptcy. If you listen to the leaders of Guta, Indus AGI, and others, they have all made it clear that their businesses are in disarray. And the most insulting part of that argument is to hear Dr. Bawumia go and tell people that percentages-wise we have done so well.
Honorable, not to cut you. Yesterday, I think Miracle Sabuaje, who is the communications director for the party, for the Bawumia campaign, he was on another channel and he made some comments which I found extremely disturbing. According to him, if the NDC were in power, the exchange rate would have been worse. For an objective person, I'm not tilted towards the NDC or the NPP, and I mean, but I feel it was
tilted towards me.
It was a very insulting thing to say that. So because you think or you believe that if the NDC were in power, it would have been more. We should take the 15 cedis to $1 like that. That was like so insulting.
No, but that's why I say these people, the arrogance of power, let them make comments that insult Ghanaians in their faces. In the face of this hardship, the most decent thing you could have done is to apologize and retreat from what you are doing and show some empathy for the suffering of Ghanaians. You look Ghanaians in the face and tell them that even the 15 cedis is little. Okay? And this is like rubbing salt into the wounds of Ghanaians. When on the contrary, bless, you should be apologizing. Because I have seen video clips of both Dr. Bawumia and Nana Akufo-Addo in 2016 telling people at rallies that when they, if by the grace of the Almighty Allah they ever come to power, they will make sure that the CD moves from 4 CDs at that time back to 1 CD. And so they started shouting at their supporters, 1 CD, $1, $1, 1 CD, $1, 1 CD, 1 CD, $1. And that they will get that parity as a promise to Ghanaians they were making. That when they come, they will make sure that the CD is at par with the dollar. So if you tell people that you are going to bring it down from the 4 CDs that it was to 1, and on the contrary, you send it to 15 CDs and now we're heading towards the Apache Achelos. And you don't have the modicum of decency. You are so grossly insensitive that you only insult Ghanaians by telling them that percentage-wise you have done better. These are people who should never ever again be allowed to come near the presidency of this country. The leadership of, they don't deserve the leadership of this country. But their record of incompetent performance and their insensitivity and their arrogance in looking Ghanaians in the face of this excruciating hardship to insult them with this kind of language. I think Ghanaians have had enough of these people. That is why I say that by the grace of Allah Almighty, after December 7th, this country would witness carnival on the street. Ghanaians will celebrate this nightmare of a government that for 8 years has destroyed and wreaked havoc on this country for this period and treated them with disdain and scorn as if we are vassals, we are conquered people, slaves that they can look at and talk anyhow to us. Just like what you just mentioned, this nonsensical thing this guy emitted from his mouth. What is the reality? If the NDC was in power, is the NDC in power? Talk about the reality. We are not talking about hypothetical issues. The excruciating hardship Ghanaians are facing today is not hypothetical. It's real. Go and look at the prices of food stuff. Bless, today you go and buy something today, tomorrow you are going. It's off. And I'm happy that we even listed one of the topics, cement and other prices, building materials. Yeah. Look, today if you have to build, it's a nightmare. No wonder the rents are exploding, because a landlord that has to go and pump more money to buy cement, buy iron rods, you know, other building blocks and others, building materials, sand, stone, all those things. Imagine, they are all on the upward trend. How are Ghanaians going to survive such a very explosive situation of exploding prices? So no wonder our city is becoming worthless. The negotiations they've done with the trade unions and the working people of this country, and the payments they have made, have been eroded already. If you want to make agreements with workers that you are giving them a 15% salary increase at a time when the dollar was 10, because at that time that is where it was hovering 9-10, and today it has almost doubled. Okay, 15 going to 16 now. It has eroded all those gains that they were supposed to chalk up, and so it is rendered their living wage meaningless. It is no longer a wage that can even take them home. And so if you look at the regime of rising prices that is going on, no wonder anybody will know that. Even you don't need any this to tell you that inflation is on the upward trend, notwithstanding whatever figures they may massage to bring out as inflation figures. People know in this country what is happening. And so go and look at Nana Akufo-Addo in the run-up to the 2016 election. What did he say? That he was going to move this country away from the Gogisberg economy that we have been operating. I lie. Today we are more in the Gogisberian economy more than even before. Worse. The quantum of rice imports, where we have the capacity to produce rice, under President Mahama, conscious efforts were made to encourage domestic rice production to the point that we had brought down the amount that we used to import this from over 600 million at that time down to about 450 million. So you see that conscious efforts are made by government to engage in the productive aspect of our economy so that our people will produce. Because bless, not until we do that and become a productive nation rather than an import-driven economy, we cannot. There will always be the pressure on your city. And so you can go to the IMF 17 times. It is not a panacea. We are going to IMF. Are we not in the IMF now? Yeah. Is the economy not getting worse?
It is.
Worse for the people. They will come and tell people that, oh, we are turning the corner. Which corner? You are turning a west corner. Yes, you may be turning a corner. What kind of corner are you turning? The corner is worse than the corner they were before. So nobody should deceive Ghanaians that things have gotten better. I have always said that the sweetness of the pudding is not in the aroma, it's in the eating. If the economy has turned the corner for the better, it should reflect positively in the lives of Ghanaians. I lie. By now, we should have seen some stability in the cedi. Today, the cedi is the worst performing currency. It's competing pari passu with the Nigerian naira. We have shot ahead. Right. See, so clearly, it is an abysmal failure of the economic management team under Dr. Bawumia, and ultimately at the leadership of President Nana Akufo-Addo. And clearly, Ghanaians will see this as evidence of their non-performance, their abysmal performance of in the economic management of our country. And never again should we make a mistake of making them take charge of this country. Things will just go worse. And I believe that Ghanaians will not allow this tragedy that has hit us for these 7 years to continue. Right. When you have been blown away by the storm, the next wind that whistles, you will take cover.
Right, thank you very much, Alhaji, for saying it. Finally, I would hear from Comrade Bernard Mona.
Well, not long ago, we were subjected to theoretical pronouncements by Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bamia, now Vice President of the Republic of Ghana. In those theoretical pronouncements, he postulated the solutions to Ghana's economic problems. And again, posited about 171 questions to the then head of the economic management team and Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, Emesa Atta, and said that if Emesa Atta provided answers to the 171 questions that he has posed, the declining cedi, the economic decline, the lack of development, and the harsh business environment at the time would have been addressed. And that failing to answer those questions is a mark of a leadership that is bereft of ideas. He was the examiner and set the questions. These questions were not set by anybody but himself. Today, he is sitting as the person who now has to respond to the questions that he set. And the Vice President is unable to answer a single of the 171 questions he posited before a previous Vice President. Within that same frame, he had made it a point that the fundamentals of a nation's economy determines whether the nation's economy is going to be strong or weak. He put it more succinctly when he said that if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. And so all of us believed that the Vice President was actually talking very well. Today, the fundamentals have not been strengthened. And that has led to a weak exchange rate. But in another lecture, he comes to tell us that we should not say that because there is depreciation of the exchange, the cedi, the fundamentals are weak. And you ask yourself whether the man is confused or he simply lacks knowledge. Exchange rate volatility is the same thing as depreciation of a currency. Bless, you understand? Exchange rate volatility is the same thing as depreciation of the currency. So if you come and tell me that when the fundamentals are weak, it leads to exchange rate volatility, which exposes you, then today there is the same thing, then your exchange rate is weak. Then you come and say that, don't say that. That is warped knowledge. If there is any knowledge that is warped, if it's any warped logic, it is that which you have pronounced. You constitute that warped logic, not us. But we are clear in our understanding of what exchange rate volatility and depreciation of the currency, they are one and the same. What are the fundamentals that the Vice President spoke about? The fundamentals are that your terms of trade is weak. By terms of trade, we are talking about the volumes of your imports compared with your exports. Right? When you take the export value, what are we exporting? We are really exporting charcoal, exporting cocoa beans, exporting maize. Everything that we export, a chunk of it is raw material. What they export to us by that import is final products. These ones, power bank, everything, final product. We export for them to continue to go and process, and in the course of processing, they actually get allied industry, downstream industries that are formed. So they process this stage, another industry is formed to process, and we are sitting here. Second, we are consuming almost everything second hand. This one, second hand. This one, second hand. Women brazier, second hand. Underwear, second hand. Everything second hand. The only thing that we don't consume second hand is the toilet paper. The reason why you don't get it is that the second hand doesn't exist, because it's flashed. So, Alhaji, there is nothing that you have done to change the fundamentals of your economy. So the cedi is weak. Now, one of the ways, and this is my insistence, that you have an Akufo-Addo who has lost relevance within the West Africa sub-region, let alone the African continent. Otherwise, everyone knows that the divisibility of our currencies within the sub-region is responsible for the weakness of West African or African currencies. Who doesn't know that? Look, Alhaji, when you come and say that our currency is chasing the Nigerian Naira, you have lost the script. We decided to redenominate our currency and cut off 4 zeros. Do you understand? And when we cut off 4 zeros, we are today saying that our currency is stronger than the Nigerian currency. We are sick. Add the 4 zeros, then you get the true value of your Ghanaian currency.
That's right.
When you add the 4 zeros, then we are talking about 150,000 cedis to $1. Not 15 cedis. 150,000 cedis.
4 zeros is more than 150.
It's 150. 150,000.
15 times.
No, it's 1.5 million.
15 times.
1.5 million.
4 zeros, so not 3 zeros. You are adding 3 zeros.
150,000 used to
Yeah, add 3 zeros is what you are talking about.
1,005 used to be
3 zeros will give you 150. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's yeah.
So you understand? You understand the level, the magnitude of depreciation of your currency. So let's not make the mistake and say our currency is stronger than Nigeria. We are deceiving ourselves. We are the worst performing currency, nominally and percentages. So let's not delude ourselves into thinking that we are any better than any of our neighbors. We are the worst. So, well, we have an economic crisis. You don't understand it. Maybe you should take a pen and listen to what I'm going to say. Alhaji, 3 weeks ago, you are a trader. The dollar was 12 cedis. So you have 100,000 Ghana cedis. That is the equivalent of $8,000. Right?
Yeah.
100,000 Ghana cedis. 3 weeks ago is the equivalent of $8,000. So you went and bought wares, assuming that these are the things you went and bought. So you were able to buy 20 of them.
Yeah.
And to sell them, you were selling them
That's even at 114 cedis.
14 cedis.
Yeah.
Then just 3 weeks, you have not sold all.
Yeah.
Or let's assume that you sold all, but you sold it on credit.
Yeah.
So the people are coming to pay you. Based on the price that you bought, you added a margin.
From 2 cedis for profit. Yeah.
Today that they are coming to pay you, they paid you at 14 cedis, but the dollar is now 15 cedis.
have to go and look for extra money to go and pay.
So the dollar is now 15 cedis. When the dollar is 15 cedis, it means that when you have 100,000, you only have $5,000.
Yeah.
And you get my so within 3 weeks, you have lost $8,000.
It's eroding your capital base.
Yeah. So the quantity of anything that you could buy has also gone down. So as a businessman, there is the likelihood that for overhead costs, you go and write in front of your shop closed. Because it's better not to invest or to go and buy any good than to go and buy worse, and then you come and your money and your capital shrinks. You cannot make profit. That is what we are talking about. That if 3 weeks ago, your 100,000 Ghana cedis is the equivalent of $8,000. Today, that 100,000 is the equivalent of $5,000. Have we gone or we have come? When this is happening, our vice president, who is supposed to come and meet with industry players, Association of Ghana Industries, Ghana Union of Traders Association, Trades Union Congress, and what have you, so we can see how we can proffer solution to the fast depreciation cedi. The vice president is somewhere dancing.
In fact, and even Discord, the dancing is even Discord.
Do you understand? You know, you don't see the dance. I wish I could stand to demonstrate for you. That is what our vice president is now. That is the lot of our vice president, actually.
He has no solution, so he has to be
Yet,
dancing.
you are vice president. You have to fix the problem of this country. And when you fix the problem, that you can then go to the people and say, when you gave me a mandate, the cedi, which was variously at, let me put it four cedis to $1, that today I have maintained that 4 cedis, or I have reduced the strength of the cedi, the dollar. You have seen the cedi balloon from 4 cedi to $1, now to 15 cedi to $1, and you are still jubilating and dancing around.
I tell you that in terms of percentages, they've
it's
done
an insult.
better. That is like, I mean,
you know, I just don't know what we want as a nation. Seriously.
Bless. When you go to the Forest Bureau, do you go to quote percentage to them, or
I don't know
you
what
go
we are
with
looking for.
if it's 15 and you don't produce, can you tell them percentage? It's rubbish.
So I support the minority leaders' call to President Akufo-Addo that, Mr. President, your appointees have stashed dollars, euros, and pounds under their beds.
Because Cecilia Dapaah alone.
And they are not releasing the money into the banking system. And because the banks don't have the dollars, it's putting pressure on the cedi. Tell your appointees to release the money. In 2001, when Celia Dapaah issue started, right? The dollar was 6.2. The cedi was 6.2 to the dollar. Right? So she had $100,000. That meant that $100,000 was 6.2 million Ghana cedis. Today, no, $1 million, 6.2 million. Today, without doing anything with that amount of money, she is worth 15 million Ghana cedis. Yes, she's worth 15 million Ghana cedis. That is the reason why the appointees of President Akufo-Addo, who are paid in cedis, who are getting all the other things that they are doing in cedis, they are going into the banking system, taking dollars, putting them in their homes so that there will be an appreciation for them to come and cash out tomorrow. President Akufo-Addo, tell your appointees, including yourself, to release the hard currencies into the banking system. Store the money there, and then you'll see that the cedi depreciation will be stabilized.
Right, the time is far gone. I want to thank my my panelists, Alhaji A.B. Hussaini, the Honorable Member of Parliament for the Sagnarego constituency, and also Chairman Bernard Mona. Right.
My honorable colleague in Parliament and Minister for
Trade, HEADMAN,
is issuing a fiat to cement producers and others to bring down the prices.
They say 4 fingers of okra. It's now 5 cities. 1, 2, 3,
It's no longer
okra.
even 5 fingers. 4.
5.
In fact,
4.
I'm told that very soon, even when you go to buy keke, they will start selling the pepper.
The pepper, yeah.
Now, so
briefly,
it issues a fiat
finally,
to
But finally, let me wish Ambassador Sampi Ali a glorious 70th anniversary.
Yeah, it was
of
yesterday, belated. I think
It's today.
It's today.
It's today.
All right, happy birthday, Ambassador Sampi.
Yeah.
I think I have the article.
Just that he
I'll
owes
post
me.
it on our social media platforms.
He
He owes you.
He owes
does.
me. He owes
Right.
me. You know he owes me. He's supposed to deliver a certain car and he's not delivering.
Oh. Ambassador,
So, Bless, I just want to appeal to my honorable colleague that prices and others are not determined by fiat. They are worked objectively in conformity with the economic conditions of the country, and the determinants are very clear. Especially when you talk about cement, a lot of the distance are imports.
Yeah.
Clinker and all the other dishes that they bring from cement are imported. And so, if it was just so that they could just bring down prices by fiat, it would have been easier for Ghanaians. Say that, and it will benefit Ghanaians, but it's not so. Rightfully, I heard the industry players say that is not how things work.
Yeah.
They don't bring down their prices by fiat.
Right.
So,
Thank you.
my brother, it's a very talented. That tells you the psyche of this government.
He's blowing hot
Instead
air.
of working on the objective factors that spiral the dollar, they are doing nothing, and they are now using force to ask people to bring that price.
Right. Thank you very
Are
much,
we in the regime
Alhaji.
of
Thank you,
price control?
Chairman. It's been a pleasure.